Let's see how it goes.
Well, you don't see the TV. You want to see the TV? Awesome.
It's not
see
really going to
yourself.
help because it's too small.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So tonight we are going to deal with class 1 is journey of the soul into this world and also the journey of the soul out of this world. There is a lot of information to cover. So if I go a little bit quickly, you'll forgive me. But I'm going to try and cover just the main parts of these ideas. Everything we're going to be sharing tonight, there is myriads more information on these topics, right? But we're going to try and speak about the soul coming in, which is about our life right now. Who am I? Am I a body or am I a soul? Am I both? What am I? And then we're going to speak about the journey out of this world. What does it mean when the body goes back to the earth? What happens to the soul? Where does the soul go? Why do we sit Shiva? Why do we have 30 days? Why do we have a year? Etc., etc. The next class number 2 next week, Kalila will be giving on reincarnation. On the fact that this idea that souls have been here before. Many people might say, well, that's very, doesn't sound so Jewish, it sounds more Buddhist to me. You tell Jews the ideas and you tell them that it's Buddhism and they're like, wow, that's amazing, tell me more. Then you tell them they want to tell you some Jewish ideas, they're like, it's not for me, thank you very much, I don't believe in God, I'm not sure if there even is a God. So next week we're going to discuss the idea of reincarnation, which is a big topic, and we look forward to delving into that. And then the third class that we're going to speak about is staying connected to souls beyond this world. When a soul leaves this world, do they still connect to us down here? Do we have a way to help them up there? What do we want to leave behind in this world? We're in the next world. Do we still have a connection down here, right? Same question. Like, if we're connected to souls, obviously that pass away from this world, well then we ask ourselves a personal question, what is my legacy that I want to leave down here? Because we all come to this world for a purpose and a mission. And we're going to get into that in great detail. We're going to speak about, hopefully we're going to be able to convey the idea that it's not about a legacy of ego, like everybody wants, will I be remembered, right? How many people will come to my funeral? Will people say nice things at my funeral? That's like the ego. That's a side thing to worry about. What we're going to talk about is what kind of impact are we making down here in this world? So it's not only about what's going to happen, it's like what am I doing right now? Because we're all down here on a mission. The soul is down here on a mission. It is not random, it is real, we are all special, we are all unique. We are all souls, and we're going to learn all about these ideas. So, learning about life after life is going to please God as we delve into these ideas and we think about these ideas and meditate on them, etc., will inform our day-to-day life. So, understand, we're not learning about something in the future, we're learning about something that is here today, because it's all interconnected. We're going to learn about these ideas, that they're all the soul, everything is interconnected. There's no like later and before. It's all part of a big journey. Alrighty, so welcome to Life After Life. This is a 3-part course. We'll be here on Wednesday nights for the next 3 weeks, so tonight and then 2 more weeks following that. Alrighty, so I want to start off with 2 stories. Stories are always a good way to start. The first story is the story of the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek was the 3rd Chabad Rebbe, and his grandfather was the 1st Chabad Rebbe, known as the Alter Rebbe, or Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. If any of you have heard of the book called the Tanya, which is the foundational book of Chabad philosophy, it was written by Rabbi Shneur Zalman, the Tzemach Tzedek's grandfather. So Tzemach Tzedek was very close with his grandfather, and he used to sit in his grandfather's lap. He grew up in his grandfather's house. And once the Alter Rebbe was sitting with his son, the Tzemach Tzedek, just out of a side note, the Tzemach Tzedek's name was Menachem Mendel. He was called the Tzemach Tzedek after the book that he wrote, but his name was Menachem Mendel. The Rebbe, that passed away in 1994, but the spiritual leader of Chabad, this is his, whatever, I don't know how to make it great, whatever, but this is his great-great-grandfather, right? The Rebbe was named after Menachem Mendel of the Tzemach Tzedek, right? This is Menachem Mendel. So he was sitting on his grandfather's lap, and his grandfather said to him, he said, Vu is Zayda? Where is Zayda? Where's Grandpa? So the Tzemach Tzedek pointed. So the Alter Rebbe said, no, that's not Zayda, that's Zayda's chest. So he pointed to the Alter Rebbe's face. He said, that's not Zayda, that's the Zayda's face, or that's the Zayda's beard, or that's the Zayda's nose. And they did this a few times, and every time he pointed, the Zayda said, no, that's my arm, that's not Zayda. Tzemach Tzedek was a very smart young little boy. believe the story happens when he's a little kid, maybe 3, 4, 5 years old. He goes out of the room, and he trips, and he starts crying, or he makes like a ow, and his grandfather jumps up and comes to look for him, and he says, das is Zayda. He never really heard himself. He acted like he heard himself. He says, this is Zayda. What the Tzemach Tzedek, what the Alter Rebbe was trying to teach his grandson, and his grandson was teaching him back the lesson, is that we define ourselves by our body, right? What I look like, or by further extension, we define ourselves by our accomplishments. In today's world, we are trained to define ourselves by our financial success, right? If I were to ask you the question and say, do you know anybody that's successful? Most likely you're going to go, yeah. Just don't become the CEO of United Healthcare. But you know anybody that's...
Too soon.
That was a bad joke, huh?
Too soon.
Sorry, I'll take it back. We'll rewind and... anyhow. So, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. Doc, we'll come back to the light. So, you know anybody that's successful? And you all think back to people that have money, right? What about people that raise healthy kids, happy kids, stay married for 50, 60 years? That, able to enjoy their lives, be kind. Nothing wrong with being financially successful also. Please God, you should be financially successful and have other blessings in your life, right? But what does it mean to be successful? So we define ourselves by extension, by our financial success, by the friends that we have. These are the ways that we define ourselves. Is that really you? Is that the real you? So if my body's not me, then certainly my financial success and my business is not me, and the friends that I have is not me. Those are all wonderful, beautiful things, but you can't define yourself by that. Who is the real you? There's something that maybe I'm not even in touch with. That's the real me. Just to take some time and just to really say, who's the real me? Right? You can do this on an emotional level. Sometimes we act a certain way because we think everyone that we want to fit into life. Or we behave certain ways because of our upbringing. If you go to a little bit of therapy and you do some self-reflection, you'll start finding out who you are. But we're asking an even deeper question. What am I here for? Who am I? My body's alive. What's making my body stay alive? What's my purpose down here? Just to live, be born, have children, have a life, and then die? Like, who's the real me? Is it just my body, or is it something more? And of course, we're going to learn, and we're going to try and explain these ideas, and that is that the real you and the real me is my soul. There's a part of me that is keeping my body alive, that is using my body as a vehicle in order to make an impact in this world. The body is our vehicle. It's like the spaceman that goes, the astronaut, the spaceman. I sound like I'm talking to 5-year-olds. When an astronaut goes to outer space, the astronaut needs to wear a spacesuit, right? He needs to breathe air, whatever he needs. He can't exist out there without a spacesuit. The soul is the same thing. The soul cannot exist down here in this world without a body. Problem is, and this will have to spend many months learning the Tanya and understanding the ideas. The problem is that God made the world in such a way that when the soul comes into the body, the soul actually is more identified with the body, or at least our mind. The human being is more identified with the body than we are with the soul. The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, that's because we got two souls. We got a natural soul, that's the body soul, and we got a godly soul, which is the soul that transcends ourselves, and we are in tune more with the body than we are with the soul. Right? That's why we're so scared of death. Because we feel like, well then I'm gone. No, there's a part of you that goes back to the earth, and there's a part of you that always existed, that carries on forever. It never started, and it never ends. Right? But we identify with our body. So what we're going to try and do in this class is to stop identifying so much with the body and start to logically and emotionally and in all different kinds of ways to identify more with our soul. The second story is a story of Reb Zusha of Anipoli. Reb Zusha of Anipoli was one of the great Hasidic giants, and there was a story that once his Hasidim were walking past his house at night, and they saw the light was on, not the light, the candle was on or whatever, there was light coming out of his room. In those days, if there was light coming out of a room, it was strange, right? Late at night, somebody doesn't fall asleep with the lights on. It was like they used candles or whatever, side point. Anyhow, they walk past and they see Zusha's walking around the room, and he's in like this meditative space, and he's saying, Vu is Usha, Vu is Usha. He's saying, where is Usha? Where is Usha? And he's walking around, and the students see this, and they think he's, gone a little bit cookie, or took a little too much vodka. Something happened to him tonight. So they come into the house, and they sit in, they say, Reb Zusha, how are you? I can see you. Sit down, are you okay? They say, Reb Zusha, are you okay? Like, you keep calling out, where is Zusha, where is Zusha? But here you are, like, you're okay, don't worry, you're in your house, here you are, you're safe. And he looks at his students and he says to them like this. He says, one day, there's going to come a time when my soul is going to return to its maker. I'm going to pass away. And my body will be lying in the room. And everybody in the room is going to come and they're going to cry and they're going to say, where is Zusha? Where is crying? Because they're going to feel like you've lost Zusha. He said, that Zusha that you're going to look for then, I'm looking for that Zusha now. Is that you say, well, the body's here. Well, what are you looking for? Why will you cry? Somebody passed away. You shouldn't cry. The body's there. They haven't gone anywhere. They're right there. Should be like the most comforting time. The funeral. Why, as the body returns to the earth, it gets more comforting. But really, what changed? The body's still there. The answer is that it's not the body that we're connected to. The body is only a vehicle. We see this clearly when a person passes away. The body is there, but something's not there. Right? The machine is there, but the machine is not on. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, well, what turns on the machine? What is making the body stay alive? Right? Can't just be food. People can eat food and pass away. Right? They can have the energy inside their body, but the body's not there anymore. There is something that transcends the body. That is what we call the soul. So if ever before you've thought, well, I don't know if I believe in a soul, is there a soul, isn't there a soul? It's really not so complicated. Like, what is powering your body? It's a logical conclusion, right? What's powering your body? There has to be an energy that's powering your body. That's what we call the soul. Now, of course, it's very complex, what the soul is. There's 5 levels of the soul, etc. But at a very simple level, do you believe in the soul? It's a logical conclusion. If I'm alive, I have a soul. If I'm not alive, then I don't have a soul. Actually, in Kabbalah, we learn, I don't want to get into all this in detail, but everything in the world has a soul. Animal has a soul, humans have a soul, trees, like things that grow have a soul, and even inanimate objects like rocks also have a soul, an energy that's keeping them alive. They got a rock has a less complicated, what's the right word? Developed soul, right? Has like a lower level software, doesn't need such complicated software. A tree has a little bit more because it needs to grow. An animal has a little bit more because it needs to actually procreate and live and survive. So there's a more complicated software or soul. And the human has the highest dimension of software. That's why we speak in Kabbalah of 4 dimensions. There is doimein, inanimate, tzomeach, the kingdom of things that grow, chai, things that live, and humans, medaber, things that speak. But everything has a soul. It's the energy that keeps something alive. Alrighty. So, everybody has a handout, and let's rock and roll. So now, where does the soul come from? The soul comes from heaven. Okay?
Yeah, I'll do it.
What do I do here?
No, you're doing the
We're
right
not
thing,
gonna,
but
there's a lot of questions that we have, and we really don't have. What did I do? I'll push in the wrong button.
No.
I think we're gonna fire you from
Go ahead.
He's been waiting to be
No,
fired.
to
lower his salary.
Let's go to another one.
no, 1 second. Let me.
I should actually print these to hand out. Thanks all.
No, hang on.
All right, I'll share with
the
you a
internet
story.
connection is very slow.
Okay, I'll share with you an idea. Okay, so the souls predate the bodies, right? Before you were born, before you were a physical child created in your mother's womb, right? There was a soul in heaven. God didn't make the souls and then send them down. We are taught that there are souls waiting to be born in heaven. That's how it works. We'll get into this in more detail next week about reincarnation. Souls go up, come down, where do they live, what do they do, etc. But there are souls that are waiting to be born in heaven. What's life like in heaven? It's heaven, right? It's great.
Dying to find out.
Dying to find out. Don't die too much, right? So, in heaven, life is fantastic. What is the key feature that makes existence, or it's not, I don't know what the right word is right now, existence or being, state of being in heaven, so wonderful? And the answer is that in heaven is called Olam HaEmet, the world of truth. Heaven is called the world of truth. What is that? Why is it called the world of truth? What's so fun about truth? Right? What makes truth fun? If anything, the less we're more in denial, it seems like the happier we are down here. Why is truth so good? And the answer is like this. What is the first question that a child asks when a child can learn to speak? The first question that we all ask, every child asks the same question. There you go. Why? Every child, the first thing they start to talk, you tell them, let's go have a bath. Why? Eat your food. Why? Everything. Why? Why? Because I said so. That's always the answer, right? Because I said so. Why? Every child wants to know why. At the core of the human being, we all want to know, why are things happening? When something bad happens, everybody wants to, like, we all ask, like, were they sick for a long time? Always ask these stupid questions as humans, what happened? Like, why? We want to know the details of what's happening. And then when we get that, then we go, why would God do this? As if it makes a difference. Like, why a young person passes away or somebody gets sick. Like, why did God do this? How would that help? Whatever, just beyond our understanding. We all want to know why. We all have experiences in our lives and we get sad. Some people test God or get upset with God or whatever happens. And we all want to know, why did this happen to me? And then when you understand why it happened to you, you're not so upset anymore. You had a job. Didn't work out, you ended up starting your own business, thank God it got successful. You're like, thank God I got fired when I was younger. Not you, Mark. Thank God I got fired, right? Because you know the why. But certain things might have happened to you in your life that you still don't know why. And they bother you. You're upset about them. When we get to heaven, we find out all the answers to all the questions. You get to heaven and your whole life's experience makes sense. Okay? That's what heaven is. Heaven is the place where everything makes sense. Nothing is hidden anymore. Nothing's confusing. Nothing's like, what is happening over here? It's not an enjoyment of the body. It's a much deeper enjoyment. It's an enjoyment of like the deepest part of ourselves, of our souls, even deeper than our psyches. It's the ultimate. Everything makes sense. It's all part. We see the oneness in heaven, right? We know, we are taught in Kabbalah that everything in this world is oneness. Nothing happens randomly. But in heaven, it all makes sense. Every single experience and everything makes sense. No one is in pain in heaven because nobody has asked the question why. Because in heaven, they know all the answers. So everything in heaven is perfect. Then God goes to the soul and God says to the soul, I want to send you down to earth. The soul says, okay, what's it like down there? What am I going to have over there? Well, there's pain and sickness, sorrow, confusion, darkness, people have egos, they're all out for their own goods. You're going to also be one of those people, you're going to chase things that have no meaning, you're going to chase after honor and glory and money and all kinds of things that really are just distractions. Soul says, what do I need this for? I'm very happy where I am, I've got a good spot over here, I'm comfortable, I don't have any pain, I don't have any confusion, I don't have any negativity, I'm cool. And God says, you have to go down. There's beautiful songs with him, maybe we'll play them at the third class, but eventually God convinces the soul to go down. How does God convince the soul to go down to this world? And the answer is, if you look over here in text number 11, this is a very, very powerful teaching from Pirkei Avot. And it says like this: a single moment of repentance and good deeds in this world is greater than all the world to come. On the other hand, here's some good Jewish, but on the other hand, and a single moment of bliss in the world to come is greater than all of greater than all of the joy of this world. So God says to the soul, God says, yes, over here you are having peace and you're having bliss, right? You're part of the oneness. But you should understand that when a soul goes down to the world and does one mitzvah and overcomes darkness, which means overcomes anger, overcomes sadness, overcomes fear, overcomes any kind of darkness, any kind of negativity in our lives, and we choose to do a holy action, which means we choose to elevate ourselves beyond our ego, then that one action is better than all. If a soul were to stay in heaven for 1,000 or 1,000,000 years, a soul can now tap into that power. Chassidus explains, because only in the darkness can you really create light. Right? But if you're in light, can create more light, right? If you take a candle, you bring it into a dark room, light the candle, lights up the whole room. Take a candle out midday, 12 o'clock, and hold it up to the sun, garnished, right? The candle in a dark room gives off tremendous light. A candle in the sun, that's garnished, right? It doesn't even look like it's emitting light. You don't even see the flicker. That's the soul in heaven. There's all light there. Everything makes sense. God tells the soul, you go down to this world, and over there where it's dark, you got to transcend the negativity, the ego, which we call darkness, right? The ego conceals what I'm really here for. We call that in Chassidus darkness, or a covering, klipa, a covering. And then you're gonna do something that's undoable in heaven. And then when the soul comes down to earth, the soul goes, geez, this is a nice place. I like golf. I like cruises. I like a peppermint latte with a splash of vanilla and a little bit of what's the big drink? A pumpkin. What do the ladies love to drink?
Pumpkin spice.
Hey?
Pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice latte. You know, I like to drink it through my
Glass straw.
you know, my glass straw. I'm gonna say my paper straw. You know, saving a turtle. But another conversation for another day. I like this world. It's a pretty good place. The soul says, I'm happy here. I don't need this heaven thing, you know, this whole spiritual thing. I'm pretty cool. So what does the Mishnah say? So in heaven, the first part of the Mishnah is God speaking to the soul in heaven. You think you got it good here? What you can do down there, you can't accomplish up here. Even in the highest levels of heaven, you can't accomplish it. But then when the soul comes out of this world, he says, you think you're having a good time down here? You think it's enjoyable? You think, I don't know, the massage, or the vacation to Bali, or I don't know, whatever kind of good vacation you're doing is good. A moment of bliss in the world to come when you understand the oneness and you're truly at peace, right? With whatever that means. I've never been there. Or I've never done enough drugs. But, hey, well, ask Talila. She's been there and come back a few times. So, but to that true understanding of the oneness of the world is greater than all of the enjoyments of this world. Okay, so it's a double. This is classic Jewish philosophy, telling the soul in heaven why it's good to come down, and telling the soul but the soul down here, even when it's dark, we're telling it it's not really only down here. Stay focused on what's real, which is Torah, mitzvahs, God, spirituality, goodness, kindness, because that's what's going to allow us to elevate ourselves to a high level in the world to come. So, yes?
So is that to mean that we have no ego in heaven, and our ego here is, we learn from, we get rid of it because we need to be in the oneness?
Say that again. In heaven there's no ego, correct.
Yeah, so in other words, do we swap ego for oneness?
Of course. When there is no ego, the result is oneness. The only thing that's holding us back from observing or being part of the oneness is my ego. But you can't lose your ego in this world unless you do ayahuasca or some good mushrooms, right? Otherwise, our job is to work with the ego. Actually, that's our job down here. That's another whole conversation by itself. Is to work with the ego and to teach my ego, as we say in Chassidus, to teach my ego, instead of loving chocolate cake, my ego should learn to love God. That's what we tell Bachram in Yeshiva, right? You tell someone that, to a Yeshiva student, you tell them, instead of loving Las Vegas, learn to love Shul. Instead of learning to love a 5-7-star hotel, learn to appreciate a deep godly concept. Right? Instead of keeping all your money that you make to enjoy it, give a little bit of charity. You get that feeling, right? That's what we're trying to do, to teach the ego to be part of the unity of the oneness. You cannot get rid of the ego unless you die, or I don't know, you do kind of drugs, okay? Which we don't encourage. And if you do, I'll give you my my promo code, and I get a free session. I'm just kidding. Okay. So okay. So the soul exists in heaven. Then the soul needs to come down. Soul comes down. Now, I'd love to share this idea at a funeral or at a house of Shiva. I think this brings people a lot of comfort. It says like this in the Talmud. It says that when a baby comes into this world, the baby cries, and everybody smiles. Right? When you hear the baby crying, you know the baby's alive. The baby's not breathing till they cry, and then they keep crying forever, right? Especially if they're a Jewish husband, forever crying. Jewish wives never complain, but Jewish husbands always that's the stereotype, right? Jewish wives are just easygoing. That's my wife. I'm being recorded. That is my wife, and that is exactly how life is. So the soul, the baby's born. Baby cries. Everybody smiles. Then the Talmud says, when a person passes away, it says that everybody cries. We don't see this, but the soul smiles. Why? Why does that happen? Like this. Soul in heaven is great, doesn't want to come down here. Soul is forced or convinced by God because it's going to do this great job down here in this world and light up the darkness and come down to this world and find holiness, right? That's our job down here. The soul comes down, but it's still hard. It's not fun for the soul. Soul comes down and starts crying. It's expressed in the baby crying. But we all smile because now we can see, touch, smell, experience the child. But when the soul leaves the world, the soul is happy, but we cry because now we have lost the physical connection to that person, right? The easy connection where we can see them and talk to them and hear them, etc. Spiritual connection is still there, but we cry because we've lost the many levels of the connection that we have to that soul. When a soul passes away, you can still connect to the soul. You still, that's why we do mitzvahs in honor of a soul. That's why we have Yizkor when we go to shul and remember a soul. That's why according to Judaism we go to the burial place. That's why on a Yortzah we say Kaddish. That's why we give charity in memory of a soul, because we can still connect to the soul. And some people experience, if you stop and you give yourself moments of clarity, they'll say they felt, I don't know, they were once walking down the road and they felt that their mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, they just felt their presence. Often it could happen at a simcha, because we taught at a simcha, at a special occasion. 3 generations of souls come down, so some people experience that at those times. There's different times when a person can experience a soul, because the soul doesn't disappear. Okay? So a very important, is this working out?
I don't know. Give it a shot. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
You did it. No, you broke it.
Am I going
again.
backwards? I broke it again?
Yeah, here, I'll
Which
just tell me.
button am I supposed to
I
push?
don't know. The side, the left one, the right
Oh,
one.
I'm pushing the other one, that's why.
Oh.
There you go.
Put on that one. Training issue.
What do you want to watch? Disney, Prime I won't tell your spouses if they're at home that we didn't study.
Yeah,
I'll tell them that we had a class and that everything was done how it's supposed to be. Okay, I pushed the wrong buttons. If you push the wrong buttons, then things don't work out.
Okay, give me
Okay.
I'll get it in a second. I'll put it up.
Okay. We're loading something. I don't know what we're loading,
Yeah.
but we're definitely getting loaded over here.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay, so next thing is, before the soul comes down to this world, the soul spends time in the womb, and we are taught. The Talmud says that there is a candle lit, so to speak. The Talmud says at the head of the child. The Talmud teaches us is that the candle represents us, an angel, and an angel teaches the child the entire Torah before we are born. We're told our mission down here in this world. We're like ready for our mission down here in this world. Just before we are born, the angel touches us on our lip. That's why we have the indentation over there until you have enough plastic surgery to stretch it out, or I don't know, do something, right? If you live in LA, you have to get a little bit plastic, and then we forget. But somewhere deep in our subconscious, right, the soul remembers this, and that's why when we experience godliness, or we experience holiness, or we experience our true purpose, it's almost like not a deja vu. I don't want to say it's a deja vu, but it's a relearning of what we already knew. It's not something new to us altogether. So God, before we are born, Hashem is giving us the what's the right word? Not the power, more than the power, like the that direction, knowledge. And then it takes it away, but it's somewhere deep inside of us, and we have to relearn it. All right, I'm going to try to push this button now.
Push the right hand button.
The right button. Let's see. If I push the wrong button, it won't work.
I can also.
There we go, Mark. Gee whiz. See, I was pushing the wrong button the whole time. Yes.
Stop pushing me.
It's too fast.
You
Okay.
can go back. There's, there's the other side too. Go backwards.
Where?
Right.
Oh, this is fantastic, Mark. You're hired again. Got your job back. Okay, we discussed this before already. Okay. So now we know where we come from. A little bit. We discussed this a little bit. Again, I told you we're going to be going a little bit quickly, but an idea, if you want to just write down like an idea to meditate on, is really try and focus on who's the real me, right? I'm really energy. I'm really not my body. It's a nice idea to talk about. Then you have to spend time learning about what is that energy. Right? We're going to know that it exists, that we have a soul. We're going to really get comfortable with that idea. And then you spend time studying about what my soul is. There's 6-week JLI courses on understanding what my soul is, different dimensions, which we'll get more into in the future. Okay. So now, let's look at the creation of the first human being. Who was the first human being? Adam Arishon. And shall I tell you joke 15? Yeah. My Adam joke. I'll tell you my Adam joke. Little boy comes home from school and comes home to his mom. He says, I'm really confused. He says, because in the morning at the Judaism, my Jewish classes, they taught me that I come from Adam, and this beautiful story that God created Adam and blew the spirit of life into Adam, and that was amazing. In the afternoon, I went to biology and my science class, and they taught me Darwinism or evolution. We human beings, we don't come from God, we don't come from Adam, we come from sludge in the ocean, and we were one-celled bacteria and whatever, and then we somehow mutated into this, evolved into this creation that has a brain that's greater than any computer that's been created yet, and the emotions, and etc., etc. And I don't know which one's true. So the mother says, of course we come from Adam and Eve, and of course we come from God and heavenly beings, and we have potential to be, great, to bring down light into this world. It's amazing. He says, okay, thanks. Later on, his dad comes home from work. He says to his dad, hey, Dad, he says, I went to school in the morning, I learned about God and everything, and then in the afternoon I went to biology and I learned about evolution and Darwinism. His father was a good Jew, didn't believe in God, but didn't know why. Those Jews that have to go to shul Yom Kippur but don't believe in God, but science is, don't have so many these days. The previous generation, at least on the East Coast, that would be more goyish than the goyim, but still had Jewish guilt. So he says, who are we? He says, of course we evolution, Darwinism, it's science. Of course I don't believe these fairy tales from the Bible. The child's very confused. He goes back to his mom and he says, I don't understand. I asked you told me we come from God, heaven, and these beautiful angels. I asked that, we come from monkeys and sludge and one-celled bacteria. Which one is true? His mother says, relax. When you asked me, I told you about my side of the family. You asked your dad, he told you about his side of the family. All right, you know that joke? It's joke number 15. So according to Judaism, where do we come from? Not monkeys, not crazy creatures that ran around with bats and lived in caves. It is an angelic story that God came and God formed Adam from the dust of the earth. God formed him out of the mud of the earth. And then it says, Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chaim, God blew into the nostrils of Adam the spirit of life, which is the soul. And it says, and Adam came to be alive. Okay? That's where humans come from. Okay? That's the Torah's where the Torah tells us where humans come from. Humans have been battling with this idea for a long time. Where do we come from? Where do we start? What was the beginning, right? We've known as Jews. We've had these traditions passed down all the way from Adam. The story goes back to Adam, the guy it happened to. Judaism didn't only start at Mount Sinai. That's when we got codified. Now the whole 6-week course the beginning of Judaism and the Torah, etc. But we had our teachings go all the way back to Adam. In fact, the first book of Kabbalah that was written is called Sefer Yetzirah, the book of formation. And some say the author was Abraham, and some say the author was Adam. Okay? Goes all the way back. We have generational, we have knowledge, not stories, knowledge. Came generation to generation to generation. So God creates the body, and then God creates the soul. Side point. That's why it's so important, according to Judaism, to do a burial. We come from the earth and return to the earth. The body is very holy. God gave it to us from the earth. We put it back in the earth. That's why cremation is a big no-no. According to Judaism, it's very important. Something called Kever Yisrael, that every Jew should get buried. If you have family, or yourselves are considering cremation, or aunts and uncles and bobbas and zetas, whatever it is, we should try not to do cremation. If there really was a cremation, then that was the journey of that soul. But moving forward, if we can, we try not to have cremation. And the reason is because there's a process of the soul coming into the body, which is called gestation, right? There's a process of the soul coming into that body as that body grows. And then there's also a process of the soul leaving the body, and that is as the body returns to the earth. Okay, we're going to get into that a little bit more. Okay,
And that can't happen unless you're buried?
What the real answer, or you want the politically correct? Every soul comes down to this world and has a purpose, right? So if somebody was cremated, then obviously the journey of that, and they didn't know about this, or they didn't understand it fully, and they chose cremation, then obviously the journey of that soul was to leave this world through cremation. But if you ask the question, what does Judaism say? How is the soul supposed to leave the body? 1,000% not through cremation. Okay? So if you know anybody that is considering cremation, you should really try and encourage them not to do it. And the reason is because it's more, the soul, when the soul leaves the body, the soul understands that the body needs to return, it enters all the truth, right? There's no concealment, it knows the truth. That's why actually according to Judaism, even if somebody writes in their will that they want to be cremated, we still try and convince the family out of cremation. This is the last wishes of the person. And the answer is, we live in a world of concealment and confusion. We don't always know the truth. But when the soul leaves the body, it enters the world of truth. And then to cremate the body would cause the soul pain. That's why you are doing the person's last real request. That's the real request of the soul, right? I just want to bring out again, if somebody was cremated in the past, in Judaism we always focus on the good and we always focus on future, right? Or doing better. We don't sit around all day saying, oh, you're going to, at least in Chabad, you're going to go to hell because you did this, and things are bad for you because you did this. No. Everything that needs to happen, happens. Okay? This is how God set up the world. Whatever needs to happen, happens. Once I become aware of something, that's when I have to try and act on that knowledge. Okay? And we try and do the right thing. So,
when does the soul leave the body?
So we're going to learn tonight. It's a process. That's a process. But the main leaving of the soul is actually upon death. But then there's still parts of the soul in the body, but not parts that keep the body alive, that just keep the body in existence. Like, so a rock has a soul, right? A tree has a soul.
Right.
So lower dimensions of the soul are still in the body that keep the body in existence. But the parts of the body that activate the mind, the heart, the emotions, etc., the machine, that elevates out of the body.
What about the opposite? When does the soul enter a body?
The soul begins at conception.
So the soul never leaves the rock. Is that
Oh, in a rock?
in a rock?
No. That's not a soul like we have. That's more of just it's an energy, exactly. Well, the soul also is an energy, but it's a lower level of energy. Yes.
How many souls are there?
Oh, come back next week.
I mean, there's a huge population boom. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of bodies to fill.
We gotta. We'll talk about this next
We
week.
get recycled.
According to Judaism, there are recycled souls.
Recycled.
Souls will come down again.
You know.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
We
at
get
one time
recycled.
there's so many.
So I'll give you a brief answer. The answer is, according to Judaism, there are 600,000 root souls, and from those souls, we create more souls.
Is that the number from Mount Sinai? From where? From Exodus?
Well, how do we know 600,000? Where's the source? And I have to look it up for you.
Yeah.
You can ask ChatGPT. It will tell you. I think it's probably a Zohar or something like that.
So it's not a one-way trip, it's a round trip?
The soul,
The soul keeps coming back?
you're going to come back next week, you'll find out. It's nuanced. No, I don't want to give the whole, otherwise we're going to talk about, we'll talk about reincarnation tonight. But first we need to know we have a soul. And we need to know that the soul comes down. And then we need to understand the soul leaves. That's the first thing we need to know. Soul's coming. That's already more like a little bit more advanced, or it's a separate conversation, right? Tonight's conversation is, do I have a soul? What is my soul? Where does it start coming down? It starts at inception. During the birth, as the child grows inside the womb, the soul is coming down more and more into the body. Then at birth, the soul comes in. And then, as we live our lives, primarily, basically, the full implementation of the godly soul, okay, of a certain dimension of the soul, comes in at the bat mitzvah and at the bar mitzvah of a Jewish person. Okay, the starts with the baby naming, comes in more for a girl, the bris for a boy, and then the bar and the bat mitzvah is when they have full implementation of the soul. And then as we live our lives and we do hopefully more and more good things, we're drawing down, expressing the soul. Soul is like potential energy, right, in the world. And then when the person passes away, the soul elevates from the body and slowly leaves the body. Okay? But the soul has no beginning and no end. The body has a beginning and an end. The soul doesn't have a beginning and end. The soul is eternal.
Why does the soul leave slowly? Why did you say the word slowly?
We're going to talk about it soon. We'll get there in a minute. Good question. Thank you. Okay, so let's go. Let's look at text number 3a. Text number 3a says, God formed man of soil from the earth and breathed into his nostrils the neshama, the soul of life, and man became a living being. Next point was, how did God create all the animals of the world? God said, let the earth bring forth living beings of differing species, cattle, creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their species, and it was so. Question is, can anybody tell me what was the difference between the way how God made humans and how God made animals? What was the key difference over there? Did anybody notice the difference? Because the question's on the next page. What is the primary difference between the manner in which the human being was created and the manner in which animal life was created?
The man was made from earth, and the animal was already made, came whole.
Okay, but the animal also came out of the earth.
God breathed, literally connection, soul, so we have that spark. Animal seems to come from Adamah, the earth.
Okay, good. We getting there? Good. Anybody else? Let's read text number 3c. God did what he had not done with any other creature. He blew into Adam with his holy breath a neshama that is immortal and does not perish when the body does. When God created animals, it was a one-step process. Body and soul came at the same time. When the body returns to the earth, then it's like the soul has finished its job. Animals don't have souls like humans do. Okay. It's more of like just it keeps it alive and then it dies and then it can recycle. It's not like it doesn't have a purpose and a mission and a place that it goes to. The body and the soul are very interconnected, right? With a human being, it's a two-step process. There's a body and there's a soul. They are not the same thing. Completely different, actually. There's the body that has a beginning and an end. There's a soul that has no beginning and no end. Soul is eternal. The soul, as I mentioned before, is like the astronaut inside the spacesuit. Is the astronaut the spacesuit? No, but he can't exist in outer space without his spacesuit. So, yeah, you can say he is his spacesuit because he's dead without it. Right? He's not going to live. He's going to die immediately or whatever once he gets out of the spacesuit. So, he is the spacesuit. But the answer is no, he's not. Because the spacesuit's only what he's wearing while he's in outer space. He can go back to Earth and be fine on Earth without a spacesuit. Right? Can a human being live on Earth without a spacesuit? Sure, look at all of us here, we're fine. It's the same thing with the soul. The soul in heaven exists no problem. It needs to come down here, get into a spacesuit, get into a body, in order to exist down here. When the soul leaves this world or leaves the body, where does it go? Back to where it doesn't need a spacesuit anymore. It goes to heaven, the world of truth. Following? Right? Yeah. So the human being and the animals are different creatures, different creations. The animal is a one-step process because the body and the soul are very interconnected. The body returns. It's like it's finished. The soul, whatever. It's an interesting question to ask. I guess what happens to animal souls? I don't know. The human being is completely different. The soul predates the body. Person is a child is there's conception. The soul begins to come down at that time. Soul's fully invested as the person grows, etc. Then different stages throughout life. And when a person passes away, the body goes back to the earth, but the soul doesn't need the body to exist, right? Predates the body. Right? What came first, the body or the soul? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Right? What came first, the soul? The soul doesn't need a body. In order to be in this world, it does need a body. In order to transform darkness into light, it does need a body. That's why we are alive. Remember we discussed that hopefully what we learn about the next world will inform our decisions we make in this world. So why am I alive then? If in any case, my soul predates my body, and my soul in any case is going to go back to heaven, then why do I need to be alive? It's a waste of time, this whole process. Then why are we here? Just darkness and pain and not knowing and insecurities. I'm doing group therapy. And insecurities and worries and am I good enough and am I bad enough and am I in the right thing, am I in the wrong thing? Do my kids like me? Do my kids not like me? Do I understand my parents? This whole process is very confusing. Why do we need it? And the answer is, I'll just give the answer. You have a question or an answer?
A question.
Oh, the answer, we'll get to in a second. The answer is the first Talmud that you can meditate on this Mishnah, text number 11. I encourage everybody to meditate on it. The answer is because a single moment of repentance and good deeds in this world is greater than all of the world to come. That's why we're here. You want to know why we're here? Those two lines. Yes, first question. Yes.
Does that have to do with Tikkun Olam? Is that why we're here to be partners with God, to make the world a better place?
That is exactly why we're here. But Tikkun Olam is not just cleaning the beaches, though.
Pardon me?
It's not just cleaning the beaches.
No.
The verse, no. But I'm saying because in American Judaism we've been taught that Tikkun Olam is just being a nice person. The actual verse in the Torah says L'taken Olam, to fix the world, b'malchut, with the kingship of Shin Daled Yud, of God. That's our job down here. But a lot of people don't want to make it God's world because that's a little too confusing. Maybe people won't like it. They go, we're just here to fix the world. Well, how do you fix the world? The Torah tells us how to fix the world. The way we fix the world is through Torah and mitzvahs. Studying Torah, working on ourselves, praying, working on ourselves, and doing mitzvahs. There's two kinds of mitzvahs. There's mitzvahs, there are commandments between me and God, and there are commandments between me and a fellow. Right? So cleaning the beach is a mitzvah, and being kind to others is a mitzvah, but that's not where it ends. You understand? There's a whole way of fixing the world, and we got to start with fixing ourselves. Tikkun Olam really starts with the Olam, Hakatan, the small world, connecting myself to a higher power. Yes.
No, so in the book that I mentioned before, it was an interesting process that they were saying the soul goes through as it continuously reappears in the world. And that is you are continuing to resolve relationship differences and fears that you had in previous lives, and as it continues to appear in another format, when your soul comes back down, you're ultimately striving to create a much better individual each time.
We're going to get into more of this. So more of this we're going to talk about next week in reincarnation. Like why would a soul have to come back again, right? So we'll talk. Very good. We'll talk more about this next week. All right. So the key component over here is that I am not only my body. I am my body. The body is my spacesuit. I like this analogy. The body is my spacesuit. I have to look after it. If I'm in outer space and I get a rip in my spacesuit, I'm dead, right? If I'm in outer space and I'm like, okay, I don't really need this glass case, I'll just smash it on a rock, then I can't see where I'm going in outer space. There's a commandment in the Torah that you have to actually look after your body. You know that? There's a commandment, that's why all rabbis are in good shape. There's a commandment, round is a shape. Right? So that's good. I laugh at it every time. I like it. Come back again. So there's a commandment to be healthy. Do you know that? According the Rambam writes in the laws of where he talks about laws All laws, like what you do with a sheep and bring sacrifice. There are laws about dietary laws and exercise. You have to look after your body because your body is a gift to you from God, right? God made Adam's body. God is the same thing. God when a baby is created in the mother's womb, we all just think that like there's another whole conversation by itself. But like nature is just because like it always happens doesn't mean that somebody's not forming it, right? I find it amazing that every time a child is formed and born healthy, it's an absolute miracle. If you go and study about what happens in utero, the way a heart forms in the brain, you know how complicated the brain is? The brain has like bajillions of connections and then runs the whole body, and there's a nervous system, and somehow in this little body, this tiny little body, you have all of these sinews and all of these nerves and all of this whole computer is who's creating that? No humans are really involved at that time, right? Mom doesn't get up in the morning and go, let me start, I don't know, pushing things around, right? Who's making that? Because we don't see it, we just, God is making it. It's like the farmer that says, I worked so hard to make this produce. I planted things and I watered it and I pulled out the weeds. Really, what did you do? All you did was put a seed in the ground and put water. Who made this whole thing grow? It's a miracle. Nature is an absolute miracle. So our bodies are a gift to us from God. We have to look after them. But they shouldn't become overly, what's the word? Not overly, we shouldn't identify completely with the body. You have to identify with your body. It's unnatural not to. God made us in a way that we identify with our bodies. I'm alive, this is who I am, and you look after my body. But that shouldn't be my whole purpose down here, just to have a nice body, which means just to have a nice life, just to have comforts. Right? That can't just be my whole life. It's a part of it. Same way God tells you to look after your body, you should also enjoy yourself. There's nothing wrong with going on vacation. There's nothing wrong with eating nice food. There's nothing wrong with drinking nice wine. There's nothing wrong with these things. But if that's my whole focus in life, then you've missed the whole point. Then you've forgotten that you're really a human being in outer space. You're really a soul in a body. You're not your body. Right? You can't fully identify with your body. Yes, there was another question?
We are like here to make something good.
Yes.
I'm looking back at all these soldiers, they're 18 years old, they didn't even have a chance to do one good deed. How is it mean all of us must do something, or some of us, because those 18 years old soldiers never had the chance to do any.
So we'll talk more about this next week. Some people live 90 years and don't do anything.
Yeah.
And some people live 18 years and change the world. Right?
I mean, they put on a uniform.
Right. But we'll talk more about this. That's a good question. But your question is, that's more of a question on why does God do bad things to good people and bad things and good things to bad people. And this is all interconnected. Hopefully we'll touch on these ideas next week when we talk about reincarnation. Okay. So, the key message that we just discussed over here now, well, if I'm really my soul, not my body, we see that even in the story of creation. That God made Adam, right, in 2 stages, a body and then a soul. Everything else is a body-soul, right? It's all interconnected. So we are a 2-step process. Therefore, when the body returns to the earth, it is not the end of the human being. Okay, I think there was another good slide here. All right, so you see over here, God said, let the earth bring forth all kinds of living beings according to their kinds. God formed the human of soil of the earth and breathed into his nostrils the neshama, the soul of life. Animals are one thing. Let the earth bring forth all kinds of living beings. It was one process. The earth, animals just came into existence. Human beings was a 2-step process. Okay, the first thing is you have to remember, the soul is not created together with the body. Okay, so what is the result of that? The beginning of the body and the end of the body are not the beginning of the soul and the end of the soul. Very important idea to meditate on. If the soul and the body are they're not the same thing, right? So then just because the body is not here, doesn't mean the soul's not here. Just because the body's gone doesn't mean the soul's gone. They're not the same thing. They're 2 opposites actually. It says, I don't want to get into this whole different Torah. But it's a miracle that God does, that God marries the body and the soul. They are actually diametrically opposed. They are the exact opposites. The body is physical, has a beginning and an end. The body has desires for things that are not godly. The soul has no beginning. The soul has no end. The soul is not limited. The soul doesn't have a form like a body does. The soul is, they're opposites. And a miracle every single second is that God allows, makes a miracle, that the body and the soul actually fit and work together.
We have to coexist with our soul. The body has to coexist with the soul.
Well, God makes a miracle and puts them together. God makes a miracle every second that allows the body and the soul to exist. The key message, how God does this and why, I don't want to get into now. The key message I just want to share with you is you are not the body. Okay? A human being is not the body. We are a body, but the true us, the true person is the soul. And just because the body is no longer here, does not mean the soul. In fact, the opposite is true. The body is not here. In fact, in Hasidus and Kabbalah, we explain, takes a lot longer to explain this idea. It says after a person passes away, they're actually more available than when they were alive. When they were alive, they're in one place. The body is here. I'm here. I'm not in South Africa. I'm not in Australia. I'm not in Russia. I'm here. When the soul leaves the body, it's not limited anymore by the body. That's what it says in the Zohar. It says, Tzaddik is pater, a tzaddik that passes away is found more in the world than while he was alive. How could that be? Because when he was alive, he was limited to one place. When they pass away, the soul's not limited. The soul's not like in one place. Why do we go visit the cemetery? Another conversation. You understand the concept?
Rabbi?
Yes.
So when the soul...
You've already asked your question.
That was
Now we'll give you a credit.
When the soul is separated from the body, and we talk about a godly soul and an animal soul, when the soul is separated,
Yes.
the soul is still a godly and still an animal, or it leaves the...
Well, the animal soul, you're asking a more advanced question. The animal soul is more identified with the body, and the godly soul, yeah, we're talking about the godly soul. Okay, so is not created together with the body. Number two is, does not perish when the body does. Just like fire, okay, it just continues. And is not at home in the physical world. The soul is not at home here. The soul, when is the soul most at home in this physical world?
In heaven.
Well, no, when is the soul most at home? When does the soul feel best? Down here in this world?
When it does mitzvot.
A single moment of repentance and good deeds in this world is greater than all the world to come. So if your soul is sent down to this world, this whole mission, this whole journey, how do you make your soul the happiest? How do you help your soul live its purpose?
The mitzvot.
Or a mitzvah. Studying your pray. Connect to God. Oh, I'm not sure if I believe, I'm not sure. Go study. That's the purpose of your soul down here. To be on this journey, not be sure, and go study. You understand? There's no bad. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of the journey, yes.
So when you pass away, then the body passes,
Yes.
so does the animal soul automatically dies.
We'll talk more about this later. That's more of a Tanya question. Yeah. I don't want to get into that whole conversation. Yeah. We already answered that one. Okay, so now we've lost Houston. We have a problem.
It's an internet problem right here. I don't think
I'm an old man, It's like make these mistakes. Okay, so now anybody have any questions so far on this? So far, we're good so far. We're gonna go to the next part.
Does the soul have to belong to one body?
Come back next week.
Have your soul come back
That's
next
another question on. That's another question on reincarnation, and we're also going to discuss next week the concept of Tchias HaMesim, which means the resurrection or the revival of the dead. Anybody heard this concept before? Yeah. When Mashiach comes, everyone that lived is going to come back alive again in their body.
Unless they were cremated.
No, they come back also.
Oh, they do.
No. You keep going back there. I don't. You're not supposed to get cremated, okay? If someone did, then it's a different conversation.
So will there be enough souls?
And
Will there be enough souls?
Enough souls, enough bodies.
Well, you got a lot of bodies.
We're gonna discuss this plenty of souls. We're gonna discuss this next. You're gonna
Come
come
back
back
next
next week for the souls. Okay, what was I just saying? I was saying something very important.
But wait, there is
Body.
more.
Say when, has everybody heard this phrase about everybody coming back?
Oh, Tchias HaMesim. We're going to speak about this next week also. About everyone that died comes back alive again. And you thought Judaism was only about Cholent and, you know, that's a pretty out there spiritual idea that souls, are, you know, continue to exist and can even come back down again.
So that would mean, based on what you said, that the souls will eventually become comfortable with this place when Mashiach comes.
That is correct. We'll talk about it next week because the world's going to change, the darkness is going to go away, and that we're going to have heaven on earth. That's what Mashiach is, heaven on earth. Yes.
No.
When the soul leaves the body, when the body perishes and the soul continues its journey, does it still carry any of the characteristics of the person? Is it related to the person it was residing in?
Ah, good question. We're going to kind of answer your question now. I don't know if it'll fully answer your question, but even your personality is part of your
Body?
no, it's part of your space suit. Your personality is not you. This we're talking about over here, very deep part of you, your godly soul. On top of that, we install emotions and personality and all of those things. In fact, according to, I don't want to get into all the details, but according to Kabbalah, there's different souls, different dimensions of souls. We're talking about over here the most pure dimension of your soul. You have a natural soul, you have an animal soul, you have a soul that can think. There's different parts of the soul, but over here we're talking about the most pure dimension of your soul, like the in its purest form. Okay, it's much more complex than I'm making it. Okay, but I don't want to get into all the complexity because then we're going to get lost. Okay, yes.
So there is some people in this world that, you know, like all along history, they come into the world just living without doing any, so to say, good deeds, right? So the soul coming, just living and dying.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's many, I don't know, just assuming that one soul maybe can go through many rounds like this. And I wonder what's the point.
Come back next week. Okay. No, I don't want to get into that, okay? Because we're going to lose direction. Okay. So let's finish up over here. So the next thing is, the real me is my soul, not my body. That's the key. One of the key takeaways. Come on. You're doing so well.
You're doing great.
I think there's another part to this, no? There's more, because maybe we uploaded it to.
No, it's.
There was no more. There was no more wording over there.
No,
there was a
there's
beautiful
another-
wording.
It's coming 4 stages of the soul.
No, that's something else.
Oh,
This
here,
part here. Okay, the real me is my soul, not my body. The real me, the soul, is eternal. Hence, I am eternal. Roy, you said you're never going to die. You were right. You didn't know what you were saying. We die in the physical, but we don't die in the spiritual, right? The world of the real world. This world is just a. Now we're going to get to another whole conversation. This world is just an illusion. The real world is the world of spirituality.
But the I changes and is multifaceted.
We're going to talk about this another time, right? And then there was another powerful thing that for somebody's not coming up, and this is birth is not the beginning. This is a good one to write down. Birth is not the beginning, and death is not the end.
Let me try to fix this right now.
Birth is not the beginning, and why all of these things so? It all goes back because when God created Adam, He created Adam in a 2-stage process. This can only be because it's a 2-stage process. If it's a 1-stage process, then when the body goes, the soul goes. Right? They're interconnected, they are one. Soul, body, at birth, or in the womb they start connecting, but at birth they fully connect. When the person passes away, now we have this process of separation from the body. So what happens when a person passes away? Not that.
Rabbi, no.
What happens when a
I'm sorry,
person passes
Rabbi.
away is text number 3. Okay, so when the soul leaves the body, there is a sudden moment of the soul leaving. There's the best way I would say it is like there's an elevation, right? The soul elevates outside the body. If anybody has heard of the concept of near-death experiences?
Yeah.
Anybody read any books on near-death experiences?
Yes.
Okay, I believe that to date there's been over like 2 million documented experiences of near-death experiences. That means when a person dies, they're dead. No signs of life, and they talk about themselves hovering above their body. And even some of them even talk about themselves watching the whole experience from a drone, from like an elevated place. And then they all talk about, I think they all talk about a tunnel, they all talk about a bright light, they all talk about this like desire to be in this oneness, they can't explain it, and then something happens and they get zapped back into, last Rosh Hashanah I spoke about an experience that somebody had in Oxnard. He was surfing, he was in the water for at least 15 to 20 minutes until they pulled him out. They pulled him back onto the shore, he was dead. It's a whole miracle how he came back alive. There was medics, a whole story how they got him back alive. What's fascinating is that whole story is fascinating, how he came back alive. But then he has a whole experience what happened to him in the world. I was speaking to the guy. A whole experience. He's got a whole. It's very hard, he says, to verbalize it because it was an experience, that had nothing to do with anything we can relate to. But he talks about being at the heavens. He talks about the best way he can explain it was that gave him almost like this ticket. He said, and like once he put it in, he was going to go through this gate, and then he would leave this world, and it was a massive. That's where he wanted to go. And then like he had flashbacks of his wife and his child, and then all of a sudden he was like back alive. There's a whole story behind it. He speaks about seeing souls and onenesses, and he was dead. He was not alive, right? He drowned for 15 minutes, a good 15 minutes at least. He was under the water, and they found him like this. You understand? He wasn't. He was out. Anyhow, so we're doing something else here.
I'll get it.
The soul comes into the body. When the person passes away, there's an elevation of the soul, right? The energy that keeps the soul and giving us the human experience, which gives us the ability to think, to speak, and all of these things elevates outside the body. Okay? Where does that soul go? So number one, it's very important for the body to be placed in the earth because in order for this is why, according to Judaism, we do the funeral as soon as possible. Anybody wondered why we do it so quick? Because the soul's kind of in this limbo. It's painful for the soul to be in this place. As we say in Yiddish, it's nicht dahin and nicht daher. Thank you to Lida, who's Iraqi, speaks fluent Yiddish. It's nicht dahin and nicht daher. It's not here and it's not there. So we want to put the body back in the earth so that the soul can start the journey much easier, because the body, the soul can't really start its journey separation from the body until the body is placed back in the earth. Okay?
Just tell me and I'll
great.
I'll
Okay.
advance it for you.
So what happens over here? So the person passes away. Then we do the funeral. Okay? After the funeral, if we could please have a thing, this is a 3-day process. If you look at text number 3, this is from the Jerusalem Talmud. It says, for 3 days the soul hovers above the body, thinking that it can return to it. After 3 days, when it sees that the body's face has changed, it leaves the body and departs. A certain dimension, it departs. By the way, side point. When a person passes away, Jewish tradition is that we should not leave the body alone. Right? There's someone that should be there all the time saying prayers. So it's not just with the body only. The body is holy, and we respect the body, but there's also soul there. And we're saying psalms to comfort the soul. It's also the concept that when a person passes away, if you're in a room, you should open a window. Why? Even though souls can go through windows and everything, I guess it's a physical representation. The soul's leaving. Like there's something happening here. It's not the same room, right? There's all of these concepts, okay? So the Talmud tells us the first 3 days is the hardest separation, right? Because anytime something's coming in, you need the most energy, and when something's coming out, you need the most energy for it to come out, right? So the first thing is 3 days. That's why they'll tell you, a rabbi will encourage a family that if you're not going to do the whole Shiva, you should do the first 3 days. Then there is the Shiva, the 7 days. What happens for the 7 days? Text number 4a from the Zohar. The Zohar says, for 7 days the soul goes from the house where it lived to the grave, and from the grave back to the house, and mourns its body. After 7 days the body is subjected to that which it... After 7 days the body is subjected to that which it is subjected, and the soul ascends to its place. Okay, I don't want to get into whatever that thing means. It's subjected. It's another conversation. But the main part over here is 7 days. See over here, 7 days? Soul's going from the house. So one of the reasons we don't have a mirrors in the house, souls shouldn't see their own reflection. How can a soul see a reflection? I don't know all this stuff, okay? But, okay, whatever it is, mirrors, whatever it is, maybe you can see stuff. I don't know. The point is, it's like this. It's this in between physical and spiritual stage. You understand? It's not like it's kind of like leaving the physical still. You understand? Okay. Then the next thing is there's a story that is brought down, which I didn't print here, but that a person passed away and there was no one to sit shiva, and there was a rabbi. The Talmud says he went to the house, and every day they sat in the house and they prayed and they learned. And after 7 days, the soul came to the rabbi in a dream, and he said, "Thank you for comforting me on my journey." Okay, so that's why it's also best if a family is sitting shiva, the best place, if possible. Again, we're not saying anything's bad. But the ideal place to sit shiva is in the house where the person lived. Because that's where the soul is most connected. Why? Because we're talking about the same idea. The body's leaving the soul's leaving the body. Where did the body live? Wherever the body lived, there's a connection of the body to that place. If there's a connection of the body to that place, there's a connection of the soul to that place. Right? So we want to pray in that place in order to comfort the mourners, but also to comfort the soul. It's a double process. Okay. Then what happens for 30 days? Anybody heard of the Shloshim? For 30 days. Why do 30 days? For 30 days the soul and the body are judged as one, and thus the soul is found below. After that the soul departs and the body erodes in the earth. Okay, what that kind of means is, without getting into all the details, what is heaven and what is hell? Anybody know what heaven and hell is?
You create your own hell.
Hey?
You create your own
Hell is the guy with the
horns.
Right, the horns and the thing and the hot fires. No. Hell is that we see our lives and we realize that we really are a soul and we could have made better decisions and spent our time better. What's the worst pain that a human can experience? Emotional pain, regret. Feeling like I could have done something better. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? Should have bought property 15 years ago, right? Whatever. That's the body. Or Bitcoin, right? Should have bought Bitcoin. But real regrets, right? If you ask a person that's passing away, he's going to tell you, I wish I would have spent more time with my wife, with my kids, studied more, learned more. That's real regret. Everything else at that stage is secondary. Real regrets, right? Things that you can't get back. Things that you know are true and real. Things that you can't lose, right? If you invest in relationships, you invest in connection to God, community, doing good deeds, no one can take that away from you. Bitcoin, this, that, Warren Buffett says is going to zero. Who do you, hopefully not yours. Your Bitcoin is going to keep going up, but everybody else's. But real things, right? What is hell? Hell is the realization of that. Hell is the realization that I spent my time down here completely invested in my body, or moments when I should have been bigger than the situation, not got so angry, not got so upset, not been so depressed, not been so sad, whatever, found the good in somebody else, whatever, gone to shul, whatever the experiences are, that is hell. In order for the soul to experience the world of truth, it needs to let go of this world. Hell is also, it's a process of the body letting go of the desires for this world that the body enjoyed down here, because the world up there is not physical. But the soul, once it's in the body, and if every day you're making your whole experience about your body, your soul is getting getting dirty, so to speak, from these desires. In order to go back into the world of purity, it has to let go of all of these desires, which is painful for the body, right? So therefore, down here, the less that we're focused on the body, right, the easier it is to get to heaven, so to speak, right? Does this make any sense a little bit? So the body and the soul are judged as one. It means like for 30 days, there's this very intense process of the body releasing itself the soul releasing itself from the body. Right? Because they lived together. They spent 70, 80, 90, 100 years connecting to each other. right? In fact, whether or not we were hyper-focused on the body or not, the soul still lived in the body for a long time. So it needs to release itself from where it was. It doesn't just happen in a split second. Different dimensions. Anyhow. 4C, the last one is, for 12 months the body still exists and the soul ascends and descends. Okay, have anybody heard the concept of you shouldn't go to the cemetery for the first 12 months? Anybody heard that concept before? After a person passes away, you should not go to the cemetery for the first 12 months. This is why. For 12 months the body still exists, the body hasn't fully returned to the earth, and the soul ascends and descends. So ascends and descends. After 12 months the body becomes null and the soul rises and does not return. It's a certain dimension of the soul. The soul never goes away. Okay, there's different dimensions which we haven't got into tonight. So a certain dimension ascends. It doesn't have to be stuck down here anymore. But that's where the 12 months come from. Now that could happen quicker. The reason we say Kaddish for 11 months is the longest that it can take a soul to be in hell, which means to be cleaned of its connection to this physical world. The longest is 12 months. After 12 months, everybody goes to heaven. Okay? So you might think, let's just Vegas it. Let's just go to Vegas, have a good time. 12 months, we'll figure it out, right? So it says that one moment in the world to come is better than all the enjoyment of this world, and one moment of hell is worse than all of the pain that we experience down here in this world, right? Now, it's not the physical pain. Okay, again, it's the body realizing that we could have been more, or the soul realizing it could have done more down here. But for the longest it can take is 12 months. We say Kaddish for 11 months. The reason to say Kaddish is because when we say a prayer down here that exalts God's name in memory of someone that passed away, it helps the soul elevate. Now, we want to help the soul for as long as possible. But we don't want to judge that soul and say, oh, you were really bad, so you for sure, for 12 months you're in hell. Like, there's no way you were less. You for sure need a 12-month cycle of rinse and repeat. Mm-hmm. So we do, but at the same time, we don't want to say, well, you were a great guy, and maybe after a month you're done, or woman, and we're going to stop saying Kaddish for you because you don't need it anymore, then the soul needs that extra help. So we do 11 months to say, just in case you need it, we know you don't need it, but we're going to carry on saying it. But we're not going to judge you that you needed 12 months, so we only say for 11 months.
And to make sure there's a meaning.
At the Kaddish?
No, that's why you say Kaddish, to bring people to shul to make sure.
You're saying otherwise shuls will be shut down, right? Okay, that's a small town joke, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for 12 months the soul exists and the soul ascends and descends. After 12 months the body becomes null and the soul rises and does not return. So now you understand a little bit why there's 3 days. There's obviously a lot more information, but why there's 3 days, why there's 7 days, why there's 30 days, and why there is a year. And it's all connected to the soul, continuing on its journey, and it's all connected to the idea of the soul before it was married to the body, and it needs to release itself from the body. Understand? That's the whole reason. I like to share with people that when it comes to death and the customs around death, we can even talk about this on a psychological level, right? That the Torah says you have to stay home for 7 days. The mourner, you're not allowed to go back to work, and there's a mitzvah to go and visit the mourner. And by the way, there's a mitzvah when you go visit the mourner not to say anything. That the mourner talks to you and what they want. Now, obviously not rude, so we live in a different culture and people don't know this, but if you go to a very religious house of mourning, you'll see people walk in, they're just quiet. You think like, what's wrong? You're there to comfort the mourner. You're not there to ask questions. You're not there to... So why do we do this? First of all, if you run, most people want to run back to work. Right? But then what happens? What do you know about trauma and pain today in psychology? It doesn't go away. You just shove it down, and then it comes out in all kinds of crazy ways, right? Drinking, smoking, anger, all kinds of... The pain doesn't go away unless you experience it, let it out, right? So the Torah says you have to be home for 7 days. Then the Torah says, but if you're home for 7 days, how are you going to heal? So we encourage friends to come visit you. But if people are going to start asking you stupid questions, there's actually laws. You're not supposed to ask people how did they die and were they sick. These are not questions you're supposed to ask. You're supposed to just sit there. That's the most comforting way to comfort a person psychologically. And then the person might say, well, I want to stay in my grief forever. Torah says you got to get up on the seventh day. You have to get up. The friends come, they say, takum, takum, get up, get up. You got to go out of the house because you can't stay in your grief. You got to learn to move on. You see how Torah laws and understanding which come from. Where do they come from? Because this is what's happening on the spiritual realm, right? So you see how the whole process over here. Why does it 3 days, 7 days, 30 days? Because that's what's happening to the soul. How does that help me down here? Well, it actually is psychologically advantageous to follow these laws. This is a little microcosm for understanding the rest of Judaism. The Torah, the mitzvahs that we do, kosher, Shabbat, they're not random things that we do. They're all connected, first of all, to our soul's journey down here, and they also all have benefits psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. You see this all clearly in the laws and the customs of mourning, okay? So, just to conclude, let's just go with this. Getting something else after this. 3 days of weeping, the soul weeps. 7 days of, for 7 days we say eulogies, you speak about the person, because remember the soul's coming back and forwards from the cemetery. 30 days of intense mourning for the mourners, because that 30 days is when the body and the soul are being judged as one. It's all interconnected. And then 12 months of extended mourning. It's important to understand that when a person does mourning, they're not only mourning the loss of someone that passed away, they're mourning with the soul, because the soul's also journeying. Understand? It's not like, oh, only I lost. No, the soul is still on its own journey. That's why the person does mourning. The mourning process is number one for us to experience the pain, but also it comforts the soul when we are doing good deeds and remembering them and saying Kaddish and going to shul and doing mitzvahs and giving charity and remembering them and thinking about them for a whole year. That elevates their soul, because their soul is also journeying. Do you understand? It's not only one side. You don't only do mourning because I'm in pain, but the soul's gone. The body's gone. The other person's gone. It's just about me. No, it's about me helping the soul on its journey. Okay. Is there one more? Okay. We mourn not only for the departed souls, but with them. That's the key part over here. Okay. So,
in conclusion.
Okay, if you want to read the text number 6 is the story. So in conclusion, the bottom line is like this. Tonight, we hopefully got a bit of a paradigm shift. The paradigm shift is that I am not just my body. Okay, let's just finish these, the recap. At death, the soul is free from bodily confines. It's not dead. It's freed. Big difference. You see the difference? Yeah. Death is the freeing of the soul. It's not the end of the soul. The freeing. It's the exact polar opposite of what most people think, that death is the end. It's actually the beginning. Right? Beginning, or more like it's going back to its natural habitat. Because remember we said, the body, birth is not the beginning of the soul, and death is not the end of the soul. Okay? This separation is a gradual and sometimes painful process. We don't focus on the painful part of it as Jewish people, okay? Especially on the Chabad philosophy. We just focus on the fact that we can do mitzvahs and help the soul. But you shouldn't go home and say, oh my gosh, somebody passed away a day ago, a week ago, 30 days ago, oh my God, what kind of pain they're in. We judged them that they were good and holy, and there was an easy process for them, and everything was wonderful. And I'm going to do mitzvahs because I'm going to help elevate the soul. You don't sit here all day judging them. That's the exact opposite of what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to sit and look for the good in them and the holiness in them, and not say, oh my God, I know they were really bad people, and it's a hard process. We don't focus on that. We focus on the holiness and the spirituality. Okay, just a side point, cremation in North America we're missing one before they go down, go again. So in 1960 it was 3.5%, in 2014 it was 46.7%, and in 2030 they say it's going to be 70.6%.
All denominations.
In America.
It's cheaper, space.
In America. People don't want to use up space. Because if you float over America, the whole place is used. There's no place to bury people anymore. But anyhow, by the way, if you really look back at cremation, was really a pagan idea back in the day. The Romans, they would put each other on pyres and they would burn bodies. It's a very pagan idea to burn the body, like serving of idols. Okay, today it's a secular idea, but back then it was very much a way of serving idols. It was like the exact opposite of Judaism. It was like, like Jews, we don't go pray in a church. It was like saying that I'm doing the exact opposite of Judaism. Right? It was like I'm choosing to serve idol worship, not only in my life, but after my life. Okay? That's why there's such strong word against it. Today, it doesn't have that negative energy to it, but it doesn't help, the soul doesn't have that opportunity to slowly elevate from the body, right? It's like the soul gets taken away from the soul, that ability.
That's not the Jewish community, that's the community at
I
large.
believe so. We can chat GPT it, but okay. This is something that was brought up earlier, but we can be dead when we are alive by living a purely material life. If my whole life is invested in my body, I'm not even living. And we can be alive after our death by living a life oriented with faith, reverence, and love that we then leave to our children and to our families as our legacy. Okay. So the key takeaways from tonight is, just if you want to what I think the takeaway is. Number one is God made the body in a two-step process. There's a body and a soul. Birth is not the beginning and death is not the end, because there's the body, that the body has a beginning and it has an end. Birth or conception is the beginning of the body, and death and then eventually returning to the earth is the end, and then it's gone. We're going to learn next week it's not even the end of the body. We're going to learn that when the body comes back alive again and come with Mashiach, the actual body comes back again. But for now, the soul it's just a journey, right? He's just using, it's a rental. It's like Hertz or Enterprise, right? It's a rental. The soul gives back the car and then takes its flight and goes back to heaven. Okay, it's not the end, not at all the end. When I'm alive right now, what does that teach me about my life right here? Should I spend my whole day worrying about my rental, or should I spend about the time worrying about myself in the car? Am I spend my whole day long worrying about my spacesuit, making sure that it's nice and clean and that my thing is clear, or should I look inside and deal with the human inside, right? Should I spend my whole day just chasing physical desires and getting angry and triggered, or should I look for something more? Well, what is more? That's a good question. If you're even asking that question, what is more? It's a good question. More is the purpose why I'm here. God, Torah, mitzvahs, connection to something higher than myself, etc. When we leave the world, because the coming into the world is two opposites, two entities. It's a process of leaving the world. There's 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, and a year. And so, therefore, it's not the end. It's just the next stage. I look forward to seeing you all next week, where we will discuss the ideas of, does the soul ever come back? Why would the soul come back? Why do good things happen to bad people? Tchias HaMeisim, the resurrection of the dead. Thank you all for joining. Toda Rabah. Laila Tov.
Rabbi, read many letters.